He never pressured me for cooking or cleaning or anything like that. He was the one who encouraged me. He's like, let it go. I'm kind of a control freak. I need to do everything. I need to have the house clean. I need to do the dishwasher. I need to do everything. Laundry. But he was like, let it go. He put it into my head that you need to let it go. You need to focus on him and yourself. And all these things can be managed 2 days later. It's fine. It's not going to be a big mess. Even if it is a mess, it's fine. Learn to deal with the mess because you and him are more important right now.
Balloons, bazookas, boobies, bosoms, boulders, cans, hooters, knockers, melons, honkers, jugs, rack, tatas, tits, torpedoes, guns, bust, doorknobs, coconuts, and our favorite one, the girls. Welcome to the All About Breastfeeding show, where your host, Lori, highlights mothers just like yourself and goes beyond the surface questions and digs deep so they share not only their joys and happiness in their daily breastfeeding life, but also their pain and struggles and how they worked through them.
Episode number 155. Welcome to All About Breastfeeding, the place where the girls hang out. I am your host, Lori Jill Eisenstadt, IBCLC. If you are a new listener, you will learn that I'm a lactation consultant with a private practice in Phoenix, Arizona. I have scheduled appointments with moms to help them with their breastfeeding challenges. They come to my home office or I travel to their homes. There is also ways that I can help you if you're not local. All you need to do is go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz to learn more about the services that I provide. I have another fun show to present to you today. I have the pleasure of talking to Aditi Singh, who is the mom of 2 beautiful children. She is a writer who put her career on a temporary hold while her kids were younger. She spent their younger years journaling, and now she is back writing and creating a huge name for herself, and she writes for Huffington Post and now Thrive Global, along with her own personal blog. I met Aditi when I was asked to be a part of a fabulous project about motherhood. How could I say no to that? Parul Agrawal put out a query to several groups asking who wanted to participate in submitting a story about motherhood. Well, that's a shoo-in for me. It was important to Parul to gather a community of women of all ages, ethnicities, religious backgrounds, and stages of motherhood, all with one goal in mind, to share their personal stories of motherhood. And this was a huge success, and I am incredibly honored to be a part of this collection of stories alongside Aditi, Parul, and 111 moms from countries such as India, the United States, Canada, Israel, Dubai, and Australia. I am hoping this book will be released before Mother's Day. It is called 100 Moms, One Journey, and it will make a wonderful gift. I will surely let you know when it is being released. The time I spent with Aditi was so gratifying, as it's just another one of those shows that I really like because I just feel like I'm sitting across the table, having tea together, and chatting with my next door neighbor. Thanks for spending time with me, Aditi. I appreciate you. Let's get started. Aditi is a Richmond resident. She has 2 wonderful children, aged 2 and 6. She writes about the many beautiful challenges faced by motherhood. She has guest posted on a number of blogs and is a regular contributor to the Huffington Post and Richmond Moms blog. She also volunteers as social media manager for Circle of Peace International, which is a nonprofit helping children in Uganda get a better education. She has numerous passions, but most enjoys event planning and choreographing dance dramas. Her passion is to help other parents find that perfect balance between culture, parenting, and self. Aditi, I would love to welcome you to the All About Breastfeeding show. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Laurie. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. And I read your bio. You might have a few other things to add, but I also know that you have one really fun and great announcement to make, and you can go ahead and do that right here if you like.
Yes, it is very exciting that I am now a regular contributor for the website Thrive Global, which is a baby of Ariana Huffington herself. And I got the announcement directly from her. Like I got a so that's like a even bigger deal for me. But I'm really happy to be writing for Thrive Global now.
And what will you be writing about?
How to become a better you, a better parent, ways to make you feel more in control, guides mostly.
Wonderful. What an honor.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. I'm very privileged and blessed to be able to get my word out there.
You must have been smiling when you got that email from her.
I couldn't stop staring at my phone, trust me.
Well, and you will get me that info as to how we can connect to Thrive so my listeners can follow you there too.
Oh, definitely. I haven't yet set up everything, but when I do, I will definitely let you know and you can share it with your listeners.
Yes, happily. Tell us a little bit of background about how you grew up, where you grew up, and the family that you grew up in.
I was born and brought up in Kuwait. I'm an Indian by birth. I did my engineering again in India because Kuwait doesn't have graduate studies for expats. Then after marriage, I moved to USA. So I have had a pretty global background. I've been all over the place actually.
What brought you to the States?
I came here with my husband as soon as we got married. So it was a new beginning for both of us.
That's wonderful. And how about the language? Were you speaking it fairly well before you moved here?
English is my first language actually because I was born and brought up in Kuwait, like I said. There, everyone speaks in English.
All right. And you have siblings?
Yes, I have a younger brother. He's 10 years younger to me. So he's pretty much like my first baby.
Oh, that's so sweet.
She was really nervous about me how well I will handle a newborn after so many years being pampered all by myself. So she was like, this is like your son and he's going to be yours to deal with and you have to take care of him and protect him and pamper him. That's your first job to do. And that's lasted me my whole life.
So you got pampered being the only for 10 years, and then he got pampered by his older sister who probably loved taking care of him and dressing him.
Yes, he's completely pampered even now. I mean, if I got the chance, I would have him here and be feeding him food and doing everything to make sure that he was all healthy and hearty.
What a lucky guy.
I hope he thinks so too.
So tell me, what are some of the things that when you were younger that you dreamed of being when you were older? And is it anything like what you're currently doing?
Surprisingly, I am right where I wanted to be actually. I have always wanted to write. But in Indian culture, you have like parents, most parents want you to become an engineer or a doctor or, get a proper job and work in the 9 to 5. So I became a computer engineer. And I worked in Kuwait for 2.5 years in a retail company in the IT department. When I came here, because of the visa issues, I could not get a job. Then I had my babies, and my husband and I wanted me to be at home to take care of the kids and be there for all the milestones. We were lucky to be able to choose to do that. Now, recently, I got into blogging. I've been blogging since the beginning pretty much, but I've really gotten into it the past year. And I'm so happy that, I'm able to do what I have always wanted to do, which is write stories and connect to more and more people. Hopefully, reach someone out there who needs to feel that there is another person who's experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is to be able to reach someone, right?
I always feel a lot of people are scared to talk. So blogs and podcasts and books, most importantly, are ways to get your message out to people, to make them feel like, you're not alone. There's someone out there who's right there with you or who's been there and who's gotten through it,
Yeah, we always like to be able to find other people who are going through what we're going through.
Yes.
So blogging, I'm wondering how long ago you started. So I remember I attended a workshop in a library in like 04, 05, and it was just the beginning. And I remember my husband even saying, "What's that? Who's ever going to read what you write online?" It was in the very early days. When did you start blogging? What year do you remember?
Oh, I started blogging in 2008 actually. I was home alone. My husband used to go to work. That time you had Blogger and Blogspot, and those were really trending. He's like, "Why don't you write? You enjoy doing it. Just get write stuff." And I made a lot of friends that way in the beginning. Like I think 2007 to 2009, I was really active, and then when we had my son, then I got busy with him, and parenting, of course, takes precedence over everything else. So that got paused. But I kept writing. I journal every day because I don't want to forget these moments.
Right.
So, but then I realized that, a lot of moms, especially Indian moms, are not writing about the things that we experience, especially, trying to get that right balance of culture and today's times and parenting because it's really tricky. Our kids have trouble speaking Hindi, they have, I mean, whatever regional language we speak. And the small, small things like the food they eat, because kids here love eating fries and, it's difficult. So I thought, let me try, maybe I'm sure there are other mothers out there, but this was me in trying to just, maybe there's someone else out there who wants to read what I have to say.
It sounds like you started getting feedback.
Yes, I did. I got very positive feedback, always actually, because initially it used to be poems and the milestone stories, like the first time he was born, the first time we found out whether we were having a boy or a girl, those things. But recently it's been about all the small nitty-gritties that I've experienced, the small things like recently I wrote an article about fashion battles with my son. Those are the kinds of things that I love to talk about.
Well, once you have the kids and they get out of the babyhood part, there's like hundreds of things that you could write about.
Oh, definitely, definitely. In the beginning, I used to wait to find, someone who had the same breastfeeding problems as me, or someone who had the same diaper problems as me, because it's like you're in a completely new world, right?
Yes.
It's like someone just puts you into a swimming pool and you don't know how to swim, and you're just trying to do that. And
That's what I say. You're just struggling to try and keep your head above water.
yes, and I remember I used to read. I'm a voracious reader, so I used to try to get out there and read, and I used to constantly be on Facebook asking my friends that, have you experienced this, and what is the way to get out of this, and my kid is having gas, and those things. So I was like, okay, women love talking, of course, thankfully.
Yes, we do.
Yes, and especially I've always been blessed with wonderful friends who've shared their stories with me, given me advice. So I just wanted to pay it back. So it's nice.
Wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about your breastfeeding experience. Who is the 2-year-old and the 6-year-old? Which is a boy and which is a girl?
My son is 6. He just turned 6, and my daughter is going to be 3 soon. So my son is 6 going on 16. My daughter is 3 going on 30. So
that's not so good.
We both are in that phase.
So tell us a little bit about your very first experience breastfeeding your son. And I'd like to have you think about what, if anything, you did to prepare for breastfeeding. In other words, did you take a class specifically on breastfeeding, read books, watch videos? Did you have an opportunity to join a group of moms who are breastfeeding before you breastfed and seen other moms breastfeeding?
Actually, no. I regret doing that. I thought that the books have it all. I believe there's the first year book. So I was like, okay, it's pretty natural. It'll come naturally to me. And it did with my son, actually. He was 9 pounds and he was easy to hold and to latch on and stuff like that. It was my daughter who was tricky because she was really tiny. She was 6.5. And I did not know what to do with her. How do I hold her? She was so delicate. It was really difficult with her.
It's interesting what a few pounds can make.
Yes, it was very surprising to me. I was constantly scared. I didn't know the small things that come with breastfeeding, like if the kid is not feeding, you end up engorged, and how difficult it can be, how painful it can be. What should I do to relieve those things, because no one talks about it.
Right, until you're in the thick of it. With your son, you're saying it came easily. Do you remember like the very early days of just trying to figure out latch? Did it take you a while to find a position that both of you seemed comfortable with? Did you feel awkward about it at all, even though it came easily?
I think my nature helped me a lot in it. I'm a very open person. So I'm like, this is something that's natural. It happens to everyone. So I was never awkward or I was never conscious about it. But yes, in the beginning, I was just very overwhelmed by it all. The beginning days were like, I was like, what am I doing? How do I get him to stop crying? What else do I do? How do I relieve his gas? Why is he being so? Because he was never a good sleeper, and he constantly needed to feed to be comforted. And I didn't know that I need to not do that sometimes. Just don't go every single time that he wants you. It was just very tricky. That part was tricky. The latching and the being conscious is not that much. Was never an issue with me.
Did you have any of your family here helping you and guiding you?
For a month, I had my in-laws here, and for another month, I had my mom here. But other than that, it was just me. That's the different thing about here because I don't have any help at all. So then the feeding and the staying up all nights and whole nights. I have been up all complete nights. I can function like pretty much on no sleep because of because constantly I used to be awake, feed him, put him to sleep, and do everything by myself.
Did it shock you how frequently newborns need to eat?
Yes, I was very surprised. But my son used to feed all night and sleep all morning. And I never understood that, I didn't have anyone to tell me that you need to change that yourself. Like, you need to work on that, which is something I should have had guidance with. I should have taken some guidance with, but it never even occurred to me to ask someone that, is there a way I can change this around? So we were going through the breastfeeding and staying up all night. I believe till about 9 months, or I think till 10 months, we were doing that. So I was pretty overwhelmed those nights, yes.
Some babies really actually do that. That's just their natural way of being. And some parents try and push to make that change. And sometimes it works and sometimes it backfires. And I think that's the hardest part about when moms need to return to go to work, whether it's outside the home or inside the home, but they have paid work responsibilities for 8 or 9 hours during the day, and they have a baby whose time is to be up all night and sleep during the day, which makes going back to work very, very difficult for some moms.
Definitely. I do agree with that. I'm so blessed that my husband supported me. Like, he would never expect me to do anything because he knew that I was up all night. And since it was feeding my son that was the issue, it was not like he could help also. So it was a difficult time for both of us as a family trying to raise our son in the first year.
That is a very good point. Tell me, what are some of the things that your husband did do that was helpful to you? Because as you said, he cannot breastfeed, but there's still a lot of other things partners can do. What are a couple of things that your husband did that you feel was really helpful to you?
I think he helped with all the diaper changes. He used to take the baby as soon as he used to come back home. He never pressured me for cooking or cleaning or anything like that. He was the one who encouraged me. He's like, let it go. I'm kind of a control freak. I need to do everything. I need to have the house clean. I need to do the dishwasher. I need to do everything. Laundry. But he was like, let it go. He put it into my head that you need to let it go. You need to focus on him and yourself. And all these things can be managed 2 days later. It's fine. It's not going to be a big mess. Even if it is a mess, it's fine. Learn to deal with the mess because you and him are more important right now.
Now, that's wonderful. Now, how is he about food and meals and dinner? Was there any fighting or arguing in your household about not having dinner on the table?
Well, that's something that can happen when everyone gets frustrated about not eating.
Yes.
But I think he was pretty good overall. I mean, I was just saying just yesterday to a family that I probably have not fed my husband proper food in quite a long time. Exaggerating, of course. But for the longest time, it was just like the quick fix meals, just make rice and just put something quick and or maybe just grill chicken and just do those quick things.
Right.
One thing that I think affected my breastfeeding too, that I was not cooking complete meals, like being nourished myself. It's like a vicious cycle kind of thing. Because with no sleep, you cannot cook because you can't do the 3 meals a day cooking.
Right.
So we used to eat from out many times, which is of course not very good for breast milk. But these are all hindsight.
When your in-laws were there and when your mom was there, because I've been in many Indian households and I noticed that the grandmas do stay for an extended period of time and the house is always filled with delicious smells. So were you well fed during the time they were there?
Yes, of course, definitely. My mom would pamper anyone who comes home. And my mother in law is the same way. They both are amazing women and they took great care of me. Or fortunately, she's still working and my mother has other commitments that she has, so they both can't stay for long. Since Kuwait needs you to be back soon because of the visa issues. I mean, that's just luck on my part. But yes, I do know a lot of my friends have grandparents staying over 6 months, the in laws, 6 months, their own parents, and that goes on for a couple of years.
Wow.
Because the Indian community, as such, parents always support their children no matter what. It's outstanding, actually. I mean, I'm not saying that they're the only parents. If we say anything, the parents will be there that minute, that second. They try their best to be with us no matter what happens.
Yes, I see that. When I walk into some of the households, everybody wants to feed me.
Yes, you come to my home and my mom will make food for you like you would never have eaten, and it'll be enough for like 10 people. She's just that way.
Yes, and I visited not too many, but a few families from Kuwait, and they will not accept no for an answer as far as feeding me. And one family just loaded me up with a whole shopping bag of food on my way out. They were like, they would not take no for an answer.
Food is a big part of Indian culture, actually. A couple of days ago, we were discussing that how we as a culture need to shift a little bit from the food just because we all are now in phases where we need to be healthier. But that is a different topic altogether.
Yes, it is. When I visit, enough American families, some will offer me food, and I'll just say no thanks, and they'll go, okay. But
Yes.
some other cultures, no, they won't accept that.
Yes, definitely. Because if you come to visit my home, we will definitely have tea together, we'll have snacks, we'll have amazing conversation, hopefully.
Tell me a little bit about breastfeeding your daughter. So it sounds like, based on what you said, I don't know if it was because she was smaller or a different baby, but it sounds like you had a lot of problems with her.
Yes, it wasn't more problems, it was just that it was a different experience altogether, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I realized with her that, both the children are, any child is different, the relationship with your mother is different. Every child is different, every woman is different. So when they combine, it's like a different synergy altogether. So my daughter being so small, it was very tricky and she used to feed for small, shorter times and more often in the beginning. But then she was always much better about sleep and much better about the times she fed. And with her, I shifted to formula, I think, at 7 months because I did not want to go through what I went through with my son. I was breastfeeding him for 2.5 years. And I had decided in my head that I really cannot last anymore on that less sleep because it had been, by the time she was born, it was almost 4.5 years that I had not slept. Both my pregnancies were really bad. So I was like, no, I cannot do this. But then we decided to go to India and I increased my breastfeeding times and I breastfed her through the whole trip. So that was another 2 months. And then I came back. I put her on formula, like one feed, but then she weaned herself within, I think, 3 months.
So you gradually moved to formula. That was like your way of weaning her?
It wasn't my way of weaning her. It just seemed like she would just not be satisfied without a formula. Honestly, I cannot even remember how it happened, but it was more like her leading me to say that, you know what, I need to be fed in a different way now. This is not enough for me, which I know is not actually true. That was just how it happened with both of us.
Is there anything that you would have done differently?
I would have been stronger. I would have probably moved off the formula if I could go back and kept feeding her for 1.5 years. That was my initial goal. I just wanted to do formula for the night feed. I got tricked kind of thing. It just happened that way. I thought, okay, I'll put her on formula and she'll be fine. But I think she liked formula better. Somehow, maybe I'm that's me guessing. I don't know how these things are. But then she just weaned herself off. So.
And it sounds like part of your motivation or all of your motivation to give for formula at night is that you just felt like for so long you hadn't had a good night's sleep.
I really, really needed to sleep. Oh, Laurie, it had been, like I said, it was almost like 5 years that I had not slept. I really wanted to get some sleep.
I can appreciate that. You get, sometimes as mothers, we think, will I ever, ever, ever sleep a full night again?
Have you heard that Phoenix, Arizona is blessed with an amazing birthing center? Baby Moon Inn Birth Center is the best option for families who want access to midwifery care in and out of a hospital setting. You can experience birth in a comfortable home-like setting where natural birth is the focus. Laboring in water, being able to walk outside during labor and enjoy the beautiful garden. This is what birth can be like for you. There is so much more to learn about Baby Moon. The staff would love to have the opportunity to meet you and would like to extend an invitation for you to attend a free Choices in Childbirth class and a tour of the birth center. All you need to do is call 602-314-7755. That's 602-314-7755 and ask for the tour dates. You can also go to allaboutbreastfeeding.biz/podcast. And on the right-hand side of the page, you will see a link that will bring you to the calendar and you can sign up for the tour yourself. When you come in for the tour, make sure that you tell them you found out about it from the All About Breastfeeding podcast, and you will be given a very lovely free gift.
Tell me about the beautiful parts about breastfeeding. What did you enjoy most about breastfeeding your son?
I enjoyed everything about breastfeeding, honestly. I mean, if it wasn't my greed of getting that sleep, I probably would not have let go of it with my daughter either. I just loved holding him that close and connecting with him and just having the me time with him and my daughter, both of them. It's just us in a bubble kind of thing, right? It's something that no one else can do for them. And I don't know if it's a control freak thing or a mommy thing, but I loved having that one thing that only I can do for them and no one else in the world can.
Yeah, I hear that you say that you're that control freak kind of person. However, what you just said is fairly universal with mothers who are, type A or not, and very relaxed and Zen moms. One of the things that they loved about breastfeeding is that's just one thing that only they could do for their baby, and that when they saw their baby gaining weight and chunking out and it was all on their milk, they were just filled with happiness and pride.
Yes, I'm so happy to hear that. That's a lesson for me because I honestly thought it was just me being, I don't know, like you said, type A.
Well, it's easy to think that when you're type A, but yes, I do hear that from many moms is that they just love that fact. They literally will use the same words that you use. Like, I just really like the fact that I was the only person who was able to do this for my son.
That's something that nourishes the child completely.
Yes. So tell me, how are your feelings about nursing outside the house?
Like I said, I'm fine with it. I believe it's something that needs to be done and it has to be done. So you should do it, not thinking about how it looks or what others might think, because these are natural things. I believe if something is natural, it's fine no matter what the situation is. I have always been very open about it.
Did you ever run into a situation where someone clearly showed that they were not happy with you nursing a baby in public and verbally expressed that?
Literally open about it, if you get what I mean. I used to be covered, and I know that what I'm doing is not, if I might say so, flashing anyone. So I don't think it should be an issue with someone at all. Fortunately, I never did face such an issue, but even if I would have probably been like, okay, you need to deal with your issues. I cannot help it.
Good for you.
Yes, because I mean, my kid needs to be fed. What am I going to do? I can't walk like a mile and find a restroom. It's hard when you're a mom and struggling with the diaper bag and struggling with all those the stroller and stuff. You're carrying like a million things along with the baby. Where are you going to go?
I know, and my big thing is, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Person, my baby is going to cause a whole lot more distraction by crying loudly for me not feeding him than for me to just sit here and quietly feed my baby.
That's a great point. I mean, during movies, isn't it such a blessing if the baby feeds and just go to sleep rather than crying and disturbing the whole hall?
Yes, exactly. And so talk about the convenience too. So is that one of the things that you enjoyed about breastfeeding also is the convenience?
Oh, definitely. That is one of that is what the main reason why I shifted back to breastfeeding when we went to India, because we don't know how the water would affect her, because we never went with my son when he was that small. We went with my daughter when she was at 6 months, so she was like really tiny, and Indian water can be tricky sometimes. So, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to filter it and boil it and do everything like that, and then I'd formula right when she needed it. So the breastfeeding was a blessing, of course. It any time is, but it's so convenient to just be able to do that anytime, anywhere.
What is one thing about breastfeeding that you would like for mothers to know? A lot of it is what you've learned in hindsight, and other mothers can benefit from what mothers who have been there before have learned along the way. So, what's one thing that you would share with a new mother?
I think that you really need to focus on your food. I think with my daughter, a lot of things that happened was that not, maybe I was not eating right also. I think that mostly focus on food, make food at home. Even if you just have to cook the food and just keep it in the fridge a few days in advance, it's still better than eating outside in the first 6, 7 months at least, or hire someone to cook for you. I mean, I don't know if it's possible for a lot of moms, but eating a lot of clarified butter, making sure you eat stuff that helps you with gas so that it helps the kids with gas, because a lot of kids nowadays get colicky because when you eat food from outside, you don't realize how it affects the baby. That is what one of the things that really causes the gas. So in India, you have these, like cumin helps a lot with kids not getting affected by that. Just eat well, eat all your vegetables, eat your food, get all your food groups in there and be healthy and happy and be positive about everything.
Be positive about everything. Yeah, it's great advice. Tell me a little bit about the cumin. So, you find that having the spiced cumin in your food helps you, adults with gas, and then therefore helps the babies?
Yes, the cumin, if you put it in the parathas or chapatis, it really does help. And there are a few other things, but honestly, I don't know how to translate them into English.
That's okay. That's okay. But really, what you're saying is that there are some things that can be helpful too. I like that thinking. Reducing the gas in the mom will help to reduce the gas for the baby at times.
Yes. So, like you can say it in Hindi, it's called hing and ajwain. These two things are really helpful in with helping with the kids. So, like if you put a hing and you make a paste of it and you put it around the baby's belly button, it's a known thing to help relieving gas pretty quickly. So you're not giving them any medication or anything. It's just a exterior thing that's applied and it helps quickly. But don't do it too often. It just once a day or maybe once in 2, 3 days because it causes a lot of heat.
So I will, after the show, I will ask you to send me an email with a little more information on that, the spelling and et cetera, so I could add it to the show notes.
Sure, definitely.
So even though I know that you were very sleep deprived and you felt like you just needed to not be breastfeeding anymore, can you tell me one thing that when you think about it now that you missed after you stopped breastfeeding?
How do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of good things that we get from breastfeeding, and sometimes for moms, it kind of forced them to sit down and relax and feed their baby. They just love the feeling of the baby close to them, convenience of breastfeeding. And then when your baby is weaned, some moms miss some parts of breastfeeding. How it made you feel, the fact that it made you sit down and relax, the convenience. And sometimes when you move to bottles and or then start having foods, you realize, oh my goodness, breastfeeding was so convenient. It was just the baby and the breast, and now I have to bring bottles and I have to bring food and I have to bring coolers. So for some moms, they miss the convenience. So is there anything in particular that you missed about breastfeeding when you weaned?
I just miss connecting with them, I guess. I love being pregnant. I love the whole process. It's amazing to me. It's miraculous, of course, definitely. That's a word I use very often when parenting is concerned because everything that children do is amazing. But yes, I do miss connecting with them in that way. But other than that, I believe life is about growth and things do keep changing. Change is constant. So you just need to keep changing and evolving. And there are blessings in every phase of motherhood. So
Yes.
miss some to gain something else.
One phase just turns into something else, right?
Yes, and I always joke. I said the phase that you're in currently always feels much worse than the phase you were before. A couple of years later, you're saying the same thing that I wish my kid was one, and then a few years later, you say I wish my kid was three.
Yes, and then you go through the teenagers and you're like, you know what? I don't know where they are late at night because they're out with their friends. Now that whole year that they kept me awake at night, at least I knew where they were.
Yes, and my friends who have teenagers always tease me, saying that you think you have a problem now, wait till they grow up, and when you don't know who they're texting all the time, and you don't know why are they upset, and you have no clue what's going on with them, that's when you'll be really worried. I'm like, okay.
It's hard to really relate to that unless we've been through that phase. Our friends are telling us about what's to come and they're saying just wait. Because I was like that. I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but right now I'm in the thick of whatever I am in now, and I can't think about 10 years from now. I just know now I'm suffering.
Which is why blogs and podcasts are really good, so that you get that small window into someone else's life to see what's happening with them. That's amazing if you can find someone who's writing about these things, the things that you haven't experienced yourself yet.
So as a writer, was there anything funny that happened in your life with breastfeeding either of your children that you wrote about, some funny times?
No, I haven't really written about breastfeeding. I think this is the first time I'm really talking about it.
Oh, that's so interesting, Aditi.
Because I believed it was something very personal with us, but now since it's been quite some time, and honestly, that in those days you don't even think about writing as such. I mean, breastfeeding time is not writing time, definitely. You are so busy with the kid when they're small. My son was 3, my daughter was just born. It's a very different time. So I think that's why I skipped it, which is why I've been always meaning to write about these things, but it just never, because new things keep happening, and then it's like,
yes.
you're like, okay, I need to write about this now because I'll forget it, and then.
Well, maybe this will prompt you, because I bet you anything you can find an audience who'll be really interested to hear what you have to say about breastfeeding.
Definitely, I'm sure there are people out there. But till then, they have you.
So I would love for you to share with my audience some of the things that you're involved in now. I know that you're a writer. Let me hear you tell about what you're involved with now.
Right now, I'm writing for my own blog, which is Silver Linings. I talk about how we balance parenting and culture, and many times I write about stories that happen with me, which give me insight into myself, or guides to help other moms go through stuff like when your kid gets glasses, or how to protect them from predators, those kind of things. Then I have written for Huffington Post, where I have had a amazing article which just came very organically, that please stop telling me what to tell my kids. And then I write for Richmond Moms blog, which is a beautiful local publication, which has a good team of local moms who talk about everything Richmond and mommyhood. So that's beautiful. And of course, now I'm going to start writing for Thrive Global. My new article will probably be coming in the beginning of next week. I'm excited about that. And other than that, I volunteer for the Circle of Peace International, which is an organization which helps students in Uganda in Circle of Peace School to help gain a better education.
So in the volunteer work, what exactly is it that you do?
I'm a social media manager for them, so I basically maintain their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts for them. I try to help reach more and more people through whatever message the organization has.
That's wonderful. And how long have you been volunteering?
I started in May of last year.
Wonderful. So going back to the article that you said about Huffington Post, I didn't get exactly the title.
Please stop telling me what to tell my kids. You know how those articles come out that 5 things to not tell your kids and 7 things not to tell your kids, and you know?
Yes, but basically what you're saying is they're my children, I know them best, please stop telling me what to tell my kids.
Exactly, because I believe, and this is me, that every child is different and every mother is different. And you cannot have a generic viewpoint. I mean, you can say that, this is my experience with my child and this is what works better for us. But you cannot say these words are bad for kids and this scenario is wrong for your child, because every child is different,
Right.
Those articles really get to me, like especially even things to not say to a pregnant woman, or things to not say to a breastfeeding woman. I'm like, you know what, people are just trying to say things whatever they feel would make you feel better, or look at their intention, not at what they're saying. Look at your relationship with that person. Of course, if that you've had it on a different difficult relationship, those words mean different. But if you're friends and that person is just trying to be kind, just focus on that. Focus on what they mean to say rather than what they're saying.
Because everybody has an opinion, right?
Yes, of course. And we as bloggers, and you, of course, definitely, we all have opinions. That is why we are doing what we are doing. It is wrong to tell someone that, this is a blanket thing that you should not be doing with your kids. It's just wrong. You cannot say that, because when you're upset, you are going to end up yelling on your kids. That doesn't mean you don't love them. That doesn't mean that you don't care about them. At a young age is when you need to explain to your kids in whatever way possible that, you know what, this is how the world is. This is what you need to do to be a better person. And that is what is paramount. It is not important how you do it. It is important that you get that message through. When I was younger, my mom used to stare at me from across the room and I used to shiver, because I knew that when I go home, she's seen what I've done and she's going to give me a nice yelling too.
Yes.
And those things matter. I'm so happy that today when I meet a person, I smile at them, I say hello, I'm courteous, I respect elders. These are things that she ingrained into me. Like when we went to a party, she would, before we enter the house, she would be like, say namaste. If it's older, touch their feet. You have to do this. There's no option. You don't have any option. You don't have any way out of. These are things you have to do. So that's something I still do. If I meet an elder, I touch their feet. I feel that love for them, and it's just a beautiful way of showing that you mean something to me. So, but these are things that my mom ingrained to me by making sure that it got right into me.
Yeah, kindness and courtesy. I mean, one of the things that a very small thing that someone else might have thought that they did was huge for me. So, like, one of the biggest things was at one point I had 3 kids. When I had my newborn, I then had 3 kids under 5, and I'd need to go to the grocery store, and someone would always have a meltdown or a tantrum or, whatever. And it was like the worst thing for me being in public with one of the kids like really acting out, and then you feel like you're standing in line and everybody is staring at you. And one of the things that used to make me feel the best is every once in a while there would really be someone else in line who would say, these days are hard, aren't they, when the kids are like that. I remember when I used to be right in your shoes. And it would make me feel so much better rather than getting those glares from some people. Like the glares to me meant like bad mommy, bad mommy.
I think it's more about just people having a bad day themselves, because I tell you, Laurie, with no help here, I have done everything with my kids. I have gone to the grocery store. If I have a chore, I take them with me. If I have to go anywhere, I take them with me everywhere. I actually bless the people who ever have been standing behind me in line in the grocery store, because every single time, mind you not, I have had beautiful people who have engaged with my child so that I can just put those things on the counter and get out of there. They have always been so sweet with him and my daughter. If they're there, they'll be like, they'll smile, or if they are having a bad day, they'll try to distract the kid and be sweet. And I'm so happy that, I don't know, maybe I just got really, really lucky, because
I think you've gotten lucky, because I've gotten more glares and I've had people say something that just made me feel better.
Maybe it's just Richmond being Richmond. Maybe that's why I love living here, because I'm really lucky that way. I have to say then.
Part of it is when you're just, I don't know, for me it was always when I was either pregnant or newly postpartum, I was much more tired and therefore more thin-skinned. There are definitely many more times in my life where I was more thicker-skinned, and you can say or do or whatever, and it just kind of bounced off of me.
That is why I encourage journaling, to write down all the positive things that happen in your day, so that anytime when you're feeling down about such things, you can go back and see, hey, this was something that someone I did not know did for me, and that's what matters. There are people out there who are doing good things, rather than people who have nothing better to do than spoil someone else's day by glaring at them or making a weird comment.
Yes, well, I think I would like to have you living right next door to me or in my house, because you are an incredibly positive person.
I try to be, Laurie, because the world is not very positive, and unless you focus on the positive, everything can get pretty spiraling out of control.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because I think I'm a fairly positive person. I'm a positive person, and yet sometimes I think I don't look and see the best in people. So I think it's two kind of separate things, and you're not only positive, but you definitely are seeing the best in people too.
Thank you. I try to. It's something my father has always said, that in every person you meet, there are bad things and good things. Focus on what is good in them and build your relationship on that, rather than focusing on what's negative, because everyone has negative qualities. There's no person you meet who's going to be like a saint. If you want to grow something, you need to focus on whatever is good in someone. Even if it's just, I encourage people to just smile at strangers. I have had conversations with strangers in trains and buses. I have so many people who are blogger friends who are like, I've never met them, but it's fun. It's nice to get to know people and see how many beautiful people are there out in the world.
You are 150% right. I need that reminder, so I thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for recognizing it.
Yes, well, it's easy to do. It comes shining through the microphone.
Oh, how sweet. That's so sweet of you to say something like that.
You're welcome. Well, it's easy I think my audience is just going to see it coming through to them also. So I thank you for that. We've had a wonderful conversation today. And is there anything that I haven't asked you or brought up that you wanted to share with my listeners?
Well, they can go to my website to see whatever is.
Great.
There.
Tell us what it is.
It's my name. It's aditi.ws. You can just type aditi.ws and it'll pop right up. And on it, I talk about balancing parenting with culture, and many times just the simple things that happen in life, small small things that give us happiness, like the first time your child goes to kindergarten, just sweet moments in those, the first week after your child is in kindergarten and you miss having them around you, those kind of things. So if anyone loves stories and enjoys having a little brightness into their day, I hope that they find it in my words.
Well, we're definitely going to check it out. So that is spelled ADITI.ws@gmail.com. So I'm going to go there. I've been there myself. I'm going to check it out again. And
my website is just aditi.ws. Okay.
Okay, and I'll put that in the show notes, and thank you for correcting me.
No, that's fine. And anyone who's interested can follow me on Twitter at ADISINGH. That's Aditi Singh. Because when I was younger, all my friends used to call me Addy. So that's something that I wanted to carry with me.
Nice.
The same on Pinterest.
And of course, I wish you very well in your new endeavor with Thrive. I think that's wonderful. I'm excited to see your first article that comes out on there, and I will be posting it on my Facebook group too. And so anybody is welcome to join the Facebook group. You go to All About Breastfeeding Community, and you can join the Facebook group. You can communicate with us about this show or any other show or anything about breastfeeding. My listeners know that, so I welcome them to join in. And I'm really excited to see the continued writing that you do in the world.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, Laurie. It's been a pleasure having this wonderful conversation with you.
You're welcome.